The hook the human thought living with an alien would be strange. But after weeks of sharing the same space, things almost felt normal. The alien had his own quiet habits, his own way of moving around the room, his own foods that smelled strange, but not unpleasant sometimes. The human forgot he was living with someone from another world at all, but that night, everything changed. It started as an ordinary evening. The human had returned from work, tired and ready to rest. The alien was sitting in the common room, reading something on a glowing pad. His large eyes followed the words quickly, his face calm as always. They nodded politely to each other. The human went into his room, thinking the day was over. He wanted a quick shower before bed. The water was warm, steam filled the room, and for a moment he felt safe. The noise of the world faded behind the soft sound of running water. He stepped out, wrapping only a towel around his waist. He thought he was alone, but when he opened the door, his heart stopped. The alien was there. Standing just outside the room, their eyes met instantly. The human froze, heat rising in his face. The towel felt suddenly too small, too thin. His hands gripped it tightly. The alien's eyes widened. They blinked once, then twice. Their head tilted slightly, studying him in silence. Neither spoke. The moment stretched long, painful. The human's mind screamed, "Why is he here? Why now?" Finally, the human snapped, his voice sharp. "What are you doing?" The alien blinked again, his voice calm but curious. "I heard the water stop. I thought something was wrong. I came to check." The human's face burned. "You don't just walk in like that." But the alien tilted his head again, unshaken. His voice was not mocking, not cruel. It was curious. "Your body," he said slowly. "It is different than I imagined." The human's heart raced faster. He pulled the towel tighter, anger and shame twisting inside him. "Don't say that," he snapped. "Don't look at me." Alien did not move. His large eyes stayed on the human, steady. His voice was soft, almost thoughtful. "I did not mean offense. I only did not expect what I saw." The human felt his throat tighten. Every insecurity rose to the surface. Every weakness he tried to hide came crashing down. His size, his shape, the scars on his skin. He had never liked what he saw in the mirror. And now his alien roommate had seen it too. The silence grew heavier. The human's breath quickened. "Get out," he whispered. "Just get out." The alien finally stepped back, but not in fear. His expression was unreadable. Calm, yet filled with something the human could not name. He gave a small nod and turned away, leaving the human standing alone in the doorway, trembling. The human shut the door quickly, pressing his back against it. His chest rose and fell fast. His hands shook. What did he mean? Different. What did he see? That night, he could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he remembered the alien's gaze, steady, calm, unblinking. It was not the look of someone mocking him, but it was not neutral either. It carried weight, as if the alien had seen more than just skin. The human tossed and turned. The room felt too small, the silence too loud. His thoughts screamed, "What if he tells others? What if he laughs when I'm not there? What if this changes everything?" When morning came, the alien acted normal, sitting in the common room, reading again. His face showed nothing unusual. But the human could feel it. The memory of last night still hung between them like a shadow. Every time their eyes met, the human looked away quickly. His heart pounded with anger, shame, and something else he could not name. He wanted to believe it was just an accident, that it meant nothing. But deep down, he knew something had changed, and whatever it was, it had only just begun. The awkward silence the next morning should have been ordinary. The human rose early, made his simple breakfast, and sat at the small table. But the room felt different, heavier, as if the air itself remembered the night before. The alien entered quietly, carrying his datapad as always, his long fingers tapped across its glowing surface, his expression calm, but the human noticed the slight pause, the way the alien's eyes lifted for only a second, then lowered again, as if pretending not to look. Neither spoke. The silence was thick. Pressing against the human's chest, every sound the clink of a spoon. The soft hum of the alien's device felt louder than it should. He wanted to say something, maybe even demand an apology, but the words stuck, because deep down, he wasn't sure what the alien had done wrong. It wasn't exactly his fault. And yet, it felt wrong all the same. So the human said nothing, and the alien said nothing. And the silence stretched. The days passed slowly. Each one carried the same awkward rhythm. The human left early, stayed out longer than usual, returned late. He tried to convince himself it was just to stay busy. But the truth was clear. He was avoiding the alien. The alien, for his part, did not follow, but he was there, always there, quiet, watchful, respectful, but present. His large eyes carried a question he never spoke. And that question followed the human everywhere. At night, the human lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. He remembered the way the alien had looked at him, not mocking, not cruel, but steady, curious, almost searching, and that memory burned. It made his chest tighten in ways he couldn't explain. Sometimes he told himself he hated it. Sometimes he told himself it meant nothing. But still, it haunted him. One evening, they both found themselves in the kitchen at the same time. The human was pouring water. The alien was preparing some strange blue fruit. For a while, they moved around each other in silence, careful not to touch, careful not to speak. But then the human dropped his glass. It hit the floor with a sharp crack. Water spread quickly. The alien stepped forward at once, kneeling to help. His long hands moved quickly, carefully picking up the shards. Don't. The human started, but the words caught in his throat. Their eyes met again, and the air froze. The alien held a piece of broken glass in his hand, his voice low and calm. You are always tense. The human stiffened, his face heating, because of you. He snapped before he could stop himself. The alien blinked slowly, tilting his head. His tone remained calm. Because of me. Yes, the human said sharply. Ever since that night, you keep looking at me. You don't say anything. You just look. Silence followed. The alien studied him carefully. Then, instead of anger or defense, he said softly, because I do not understand. The human frowned. Understand what? Your body, the alien replied simply. The way it carries strength, the way it heals scars. It is different from mine, different from my people. I do not understand it, but I wish to. The human's chest tightened. He gripped the edge of the counter, anger rising with embarrassment. So, I'm an experiment to you. Something to study. The alien shook his head slowly, his eyes steady. Not experiment, not study. Curiosity, respect. The human's breath caught. His throat felt dry. He wanted to argue, but the alien's voice carried no mockery, no cruelty, only quiet honesty. And that honesty was harder to fight than laughter. He turned away, muttering, You shouldn't have seen me like that. The alien's voice followed him softly. Perhaps, but now that I have, I cannot forget. The words struck deep. They stayed with him long after he left the room, echoing in his chest. The next day, he avoided the alien again, but this time, it was different. He was not only avoiding shame, he was avoiding the strange pull in his heart. The whisper that maybe, just maybe, the alien meant no harm. One night, when the human returned late, he found the alien sitting by the window, staring out at the stars. The room was dim. Shadows falling across the alien's face. He didn't turn when the human entered, only spoke softly, "In my world." "Silence means distance," he said. "But here, I wonder, does your silence mean anger?" The human froze, his hands still on the door. He swallowed hard, not sure how to answer. Finally, he said, "It means I don't know how to talk to you anymore." The alien turned, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "Then speak simply. Speak truth. I will listen." The human's chest ached. He wanted to tell him everything, that he felt exposed, humiliated, vulnerable. That he hated how one mistake had torn down all his walls, but the words stayed trapped. So he only muttered, "I'm tired," and walked into his room. But as he lay in bed that night, he realized the silence between them had become more dangerous than words, because silence was not emptiness, was weight. It was tension. It was the unspoken truth pressing harder each day, and he knew, sooner or later, something would break. The alien's curiosity, the days turned into weeks, and the silence between them changed. It was no longer the silence of avoidance, became the silence of questions. The human could feel it whenever the alien was near. Those unblinking eyes carried something unspoken, something that pressed against the walls the human had built around himself. One evening, he returned home later than usual. The lights in the common room glowed soft blue, the alien's way of keeping the space calm. The human dropped his bag on the chair and tried to walk past quickly, but the alien's voice stopped him. "You avoid me?" The human froze, his back stiff. "I don't." "Yes," the alien said, calm but steady. "You do." Since that night, the human clenched his fists. He wanted to deny it again, but the truth hung heavy. He turned slowly, his voice sharp. "What do you expect? You saw me. You saw too much." The alien tilted his head. "And yet, I still do not understand." The human's jaw tightened. "Understand what?" "Your body," the alien answered, just as he had before. "It is not like mine. Not like my people. It is strong, but also fragile. You hide it with cloth, as if ashamed. Why?" The human's face burned. Anger rose, but not the kind that came with hatred. It was anger born from fear, from being exposed. "You don't ask someone things like that," he snapped. "Why not?" the alien asked, blinking slowly. "Is it forbidden?" The human's throat tightened. Forbidden. The word cut him in, a way he could not explain. "No," he muttered. "It's just private." The alien leaned forward slightly, his eyes glimmering in the dim light. Private, a human word. It means something to protect. "Yes," the human said. Quickly. "Something you don't share. Something that belongs to you." The alien nodded slowly, as if storing the word deep inside. "Private," he repeated softly. "But if it belongs to you, why are you ashamed of it?" The human's chest tightened. He wanted to shout to end the conversation, but the question dug deep, sharper than any insult he had ever heard. Ashamed. Yes, that was the word. He turned away, his voice low. "Because it's not good enough." The alien blinked, clearly confused. "Not good enough? For who?" "For anyone," the human whispered. Silence fell again, but this time it was different. It wasn't heavy with anger, it was heavy with truth. It's a kind of truth that left scars when spoken aloud. The alien's voice softened, almost a whisper. "In my people, the body is only a shell. We do not judge the shell. We judge the spirit." The human laughed bitterly, though no humor touched his voice. "Well, your people are lucky. Mine don't think that way." The alien tilted his head again. "Perhaps that is why you are so different. Perhaps that is why you hide." The human's Heart pounded. He wanted to run into his room and close the door, but the alien's words rooted him in place. Different? Hide. Those words were knives. But knives that cut toward the truth. Finally, the human muttered, "You don't understand. You never will." The alien's gaze did not waver. "Then teach me." The human blinked, startled. "Teach you?" "Yes," the alien said simply. "Show me what it means to be human. Show me what you fear. Show me why you hide." The human shook his head, stepping back. "No, that's insane. Insane." The alien repeated. "Another human word. It means without reason." "Yes," the human snapped. "Exactly. Without reason." The alien leaned back slowly. "Perhaps. But is it not also without reason to hate yourself for the shell you live in?" The human's breath caught. He had no answer. The alien's voice dropped softer still. "I do not see weakness when I look at you. I see something I do not have. I see resilience. I see survival. I see beauty." The words struck like lightning. The human's eyes widened, his chest burning. Beauty? No one had ever called him that, not even as a lie. His voice cracked. "Don't say that. You don't mean it." "I mean it," the alien said firmly, his eyes glowing steady in the low light. "Your people cannot see, but I see. I always see." The human turned quickly, his throat tight, his eyes stinging. He muttered something he didn't even know what, and disappeared into his room, slamming the door behind him. But all night he could not sleep. The alien's words replayed in his mind, circling again and again. Beauty, resilience, survival. The human tossed and turned, his hands gripping the blanket. Why had those words felt so heavy? Why had they sounded so true? For the first time. The shame inside him was not the loudest voice. For the first time, another voice had entered, a calm, steady, alien voice. A voice that refused to laugh, refused to mock, refused to look away. And though he hated to admit it, that voice was changing him. Little by little, the human closed his eyes tightly, whispering to himself, "No, don't believe it." But even as he whispered, he knew the truth. Part of him already wanted to. Asterisk a small connection, the storm came without warning. One moment. The night was calm, the stars shining above the colony's roofs. And the next, dark clouds swallowed everything. Lightning split the sky with blinding flashes. The walls shook under the deep growl of thunder. The human sat alone in his room, staring at the ceiling, trying not to think. But when the lights flickered once, twice, and then died, the silence of power loss fell heavy. He sat up quickly. The air hummed faintly with static from the storm. The room felt smaller, darker, colder. A soft sound echoed down the hallway. A door sliding open. Then another sound, footsteps. Slow, careful, deliberate. He tensed. A faint blue glow appeared in the hallway. The alien's bioluminescent skin lighting the darkness. He moved gracefully, his tall frame casting shadows across the wall. His voice came calm, but lower than usual, as if softened by the storm. The power grid has failed. The human forced himself to breathe evenly. I noticed. The alien blinked, his large eyes glimmering. You dislike storms? The human looked away. Who likes storms? The alien tilted his head slightly, as though considering the question. We do not fear them. We listen. Storms speak of change. The human almost laughed, but it came out more like a shaky breath. Well, I don't want change. I just want the lights back on. The alien stepped closer, the glow of his skin brushing the human's shadow. You are tense again. The human snapped without thinking. Stop saying that. Why? The alien asked gently. Because it's true, the human muttered, his voice breaking. The alien paused. His long fingers flexed slightly, as if resisting the urge to reach out. You do not like being seen, he said softly. No, the human whispered. I hate it. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the roar of thunder outside. The alien finally moved closer and sat down across from him on the floor. The faint glow of his body casting both their faces in soft light. He leaned forward slightly, not threatening, just present. Tell me why, he said. The human shook his head. I can't. You can, the alien replied calmly. You choose not to. The human's throat tightened. Words fought to stay. Buried, but the storm outside seemed to crack open something inside him. His voice slipped out, low and raw. Because when you look at me, you see all the things I hate about myself. My scars, my shape, my everything. I don't want anyone to see that. The alien's eyes softened. I do not see what you hate. I see what is true. The human clenched his fists. And what do you see? I see strength, the alien said simply. I see a body that endured pain and still moves forward. I see someone who fears being broken, yet keeps standing. That is beauty to me. The human turned his face away, eyes stinging. You're lying. No, the alien said, his voice firm for the first time. I have no reason to lie. My kind does not lie for comfort. We speak what we see. The human trembled, his chest heavy with words he could not say. For so long, shame had been his shield. To hear someone not deny it but call it beautiful lit was unbearable and healing at the same time. Another roll of thunder shook the walls. The human flinched slightly, his body tense. The alien noticed. Without thinking, he extended one long hand, resting it gently on the human's arm. Not forceful, not demanding, just steady. The human stiffened at the touch, but he did not pull away. The alien's hand was warm, his glow brighter against the human's skin. The steady weight of it grounded him. You are not alone. The alien said softly. The human swallowed hard. His voice cracked when he whispered, Why? Why do you care? The alien's gaze did not waver. Because I see you hiding behind walls, and I wish to know the one inside them. The human's chest shook, his breath unsteady. For years, no one had wanted to see him not really. No one had asked, no one had cared. And now, this alien. This strange being from another world was speaking words he had always needed but never heard. For the first time, the human didn't fight it. He let himself lean just slightly, just enough that the alien's hand steadied him. The storm outside raged louder, rain hammering against the roof, lightning splitting the sky. But inside, for the first time in years, the human felt something different. He felt safe. The alien's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. Do you trust me? The human closed his eyes. His voice was barely audible. Maybe. And that one word was enough. The alien gave a small nod, as if he had been given a gift. He did not push further. He did not demand. He only sat there. His hands still warm, his presence still steady, as the storm passed outside. For a long time, neither spoke. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It wasn't awkward. It was alive. When the lights finally flickered back to life, the human opened. His eyes slowly. The alien withdrew his hand, respectful, patient. But the warmth lingered, not on his skin, but deeper inside. Conflict and fear the storm had passed, but its echo lingered. Something had changed between them that night. The human felt it every time he looked at his alien roommate. No longer just silence. No longer just awkward distance. There was a thread. Between them now, thin but strong. A fragile trust, but outside their small shared home, the world was less kind. Rumors spread quickly in the colony. Whispers moved faster than wind. Some had seen them together after the blackout, sitting close, talking softly. Some claimed they had seen the alien's hand on the human's arm. That was enough. She lets him touch her, one voice said in the market. Humans are shameless, another scoffed. It is not natural. He should not care for her. The human heard it all. He tried to block it out, but the words clung to him like smoke. His people had always been cruel, always sharp with their judgments. He was used to whispers. But this time, it was worse. This time, they mocked not only him, but the strange bond he had begun to believe in. He carried the weight in silence, pretending it didn't matter. But every word dug deeper into old scars. One afternoon, as he carried supplies back to the house, a group of colonists blocked his path. Their eyes glittered with mischief, their mouths twisted with cruel smiles. Human. One said mockingly, "Tell us, what does he see in you?" Another laughed. "Or maybe he does not see at all. Maybe he only pities you." The others joined in, their voices rising. "Too small for us, too weak, too ugly but good enough for an alien." The human's face burned hot. His chest tightened until he could hardly breathe. He gripped the basket in his hands, wanting to throw it, wanting to scream, but he could not. His throat was locked before he could answer. A shadow fell across the group. The alien stood there, tall and unshaken. His glowing eyes swept over them, calm but sharp. His voice was low, steady, carrying a weight that made the laughter falter. "You will not speak to him that way again." The colonists hesitated, exchanging uneasy looks. One tried to laugh it off. "We only joke." The alien's gaze hardened. "Your words are not humor. They are poison. I will not let you spread them." The men muttered, but stepped aside, their courage fading under his steady eyes. One spat on the ground before walking off. The others followed quickly. The human stood frozen, his chest still heaving. The alien turned to him, his expression softening. "Are you hurt?" The human shook his head quickly. "No." But his voice cracked. His hands trembled as he clutched the basket tighter. The alien tilted his head slightly. "Then why do you shake?" The human looked away, ashamed. "Because they're right." The alien blinked slowly. "Right? Yes," the human whispered. "Everything they said. I'm not enough. Not for them. Not for you." The alien's eyes widened faintly, glowing in the light. He stepped closer, his voice firm. "Do not mistake their cruelty for truth. They see only shadows. I see what is real." The human shook his head, bitter laughter slipping from his lips. "You don't get it. You don't live with it. Every day, it's the same. Their words, their looks, they never stop. And maybe they're right. Maybe I'm nothing." The alien's hand lifted slowly, hovering before settling on the human's shoulder. His grip was steady, warm, grounding. "You are not nothing," he said quietly but firmly. "You are everything they are too blind to see." The human's chest ached. Tears stung his eyes, but he turned his face away quickly, refusing to let them fall in front of anyone even him. That night, the human sat by the river, staring into the dark water. The stars reflected faintly, trembling with the current. His reflections stared back, distorted, broken. He whispered to himself, "Why does he keep saying those things? Why does he keep looking at me like that?" The air shifted behind him. He didn't need to turn to know who it was. "You left quickly," the alien said softly. The human muttered, "I didn't want to be around anyone, even me." His throat tightened. "Especially you." The alien stepped closer, but kept a respectful distance. "Because you fear me. "No," the human whispered. "Because I don't want to believe you. And I'm afraid I already do." Silence stretched. The river whispered between them. The alien finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "Belief is not weakness. It is courage. Courage." The human scoffed. "To let myself hope? To let myself trust. And then what? When you leave? When you decide I'm not worth it after all?" The alien's gaze softened, glowing faintly in the night. He lowered himself to sit beside the human, their shoulders almost touching. "Then I will prove it," he said simply. The human frowned, confused. "Prove what?" "That I will not leave. That I will not change my words. That I will not see you as they do." The human's heart pounded. He wanted to argue, to tell him it was impossible. But when he looked into the alien's eyes, he saw no hesitation, no pity. Only truth, and truth was harder to fight than lies. The human turned away, whispering, "I don't know if I can believe that." The alien's voice came quiet but firm. "Then let me show you." The human didn't answer. He kept staring at the water, but for the first time, the reflection staring back didn't feel entirely alone. The turning point, the colony's gathering hall, was full that day. People had come for trade, for meetings, for simple talk. The air buzzed with voices, footsteps echoing against the high ceiling. But beneath it all, the human felt the weight of whispers, heavier than ever. Everywhere he went, eyes followed him. Some filled with amusement, some with disdain, some with pity. And every glance reminded him of the truth he hated. He was different. Too different. He stood near the edge of the crowd, wishing he could disappear. He pulled his cloak tighter around him, hoping to shrink, to fade into shadows. But then he saw his alien roommate enter. Tall, glowing faintly with bioluminescence, moving with calm confidence. The crowd parted slightly as he walked through. His presence commanded attention, though he never demanded it. The human's chest tightened. He wanted to leave before anything happened, before the whispers grew louder. But he was too slow. A voice rang out from the crowd. Loud, mocking. "Tell us, alien, what do you see in your human?" Laughter followed. Cruel, sharp. All eyes turned. Searching, waiting. The human froze, his heart pounding painfully in his chest. His worst fear. The moment he had dreaded. His face burned. He wanted to run, but his legs refused to move. The alien stopped in the center of the hall. His eyes swept across the crowd, calm and steady. He could have walked away, ignored the words, but he didn't. He turned slowly, his gaze finding the human at the edge of the room. And then, with a voice that carried like thunder, he answered, "I will tell you what I see." The laughter quieted, the hall stilled. Every ear leaned closer. The alien lifted his hand, not pointing at the crowd, but at the human. His voice was calm, strong, unshaken. "I see someone who has endured pain and still walks forward. I see someone who has been judged and mocked, yet continues to live. I see resilience. I see strength." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The human's chest heaved, his throat closing. The alien continued, louder now, each word striking like a hammer. "You call him weak, you call him less, but I tell you this, he is stronger than you will ever be. Stronger because he has carried shame and still stands. Stronger because he has been alone and still breathes. Stronger because he is human." The whispers broke into silence. Faces turned uneasy. The human trembled where he stood, unable to breathe. The alien stepped closer, closing the space between them. His voice softened but carried even more weight. "And I will tell you more. I do not only see strength, I see beauty." The word hung in the air like lightning. Beauty spoken in front of all. The human's knees weakened. His hands shook. tears burned behind his eyes. The alien moved until he stood before him, tall, unshaken, glowing faintly in the dim hall. His eyes locked onto the humans, steady and full of truth. I see beauty in the scars. I see beauty in the shape he hides. I see beauty in every piece of him that others are too blind to see. And because I see it, I love him. The hall erupted in gasps. Some voices shouted in shock. Others scoffed in disbelief. But none could drown the power of his words. The human's world spun. His chest felt as if it would burst. He stared at the alien, trembling, his lips parting but no sound escaping. The alien didn't falter. He reached out slowly, deliberately, and took the human's hand in his own. Firm, warm, steady. I will not hide it. I will not whisper it in shadows. I love him. And nothing you say can change that. The crowd was silent now. Silent not because they believed, but because they could not fight it. His voice, his truth, his courage, it was unbreakable. The human's tears fell freely. His head shook slightly, disbelief and fear crashing into him. Why? Why would you say that here? He whispered. The alien's voice dropped softer, just for him. Because you needed to hear it here, so you know it is not a secret. So you know it is not shame. So you know it is truth. The human sobbed quietly, his face hidden in his hand. For years, shame had been his only companion. For years, he believed no one could ever look at him and see worth. And now, before everyone, the alien had shattered that lie. The alien squeezed his hand gently, grounding him. Do you believe me? The human's lips trembled. His voice broke. Yes. The alien's eyes softened. A small, steady smile touched his face. The crowd slowly broke apart, some leaving in murmurs, others staring in disbelief. No one laughed now. No one mocked. The alien's words had stripped them of their cruelty. The human leaned into him, his forehead against the alien's chest. The world could still whisper. The world could still scorn, but here, in this moment, he no longer cared. Because he was no longer alone. Love that changed everything, the days after the public confession passed like a dream. For the human, everything felt different. The whispers still existed. Of course they did. Some still mocked, some still doubted. But the words no longer cut as deeply as before. Because now, for the first time in his life, he wasn't carrying them alone. Every time he remembered the alien's voice, clear and unshaken in the hall, his chest warmed. I love him, spoken in front of all, with no shame, no hesitation. That truth became a shield, stronger than any wall he had built. But acceptance was not instant. At night, the human still found himself staring in the mirror, seeing the same body he had always hated. The scars, the shape, the flaws. The voices of his past still echoed in the back of his mind. Too weak, too ugly. Not enough. Yet now, another. Voice echoed louder. A steady voice, a true voice. I see beauty. I see strength. I love you. One evening, he stood by the river, staring at his reflection. The water rippled, breaking his image into fragments. He sighed. You look at yourself as if you are your own enemy, a familiar voice said. He turned. The alien stood behind him, tall and glowing faintly in the fading light. The human gave a weak smile. Maybe I am. The alien stepped closer, his eyes steady. Then I will stand against that enemy with you. The human laughed softly, shaking his head. You always know what to say, don't you? I do not always know, the alien said calmly, but I always mean it. Silence stretched, gentle this time. The human felt warmth in his chest, the kind that made breathing easier at last. He whispered, I don't know how to stop hating myself. The alien's voice softened. Then let me help you. When you look in the mirror and see weakness, let me tell you where I see strength. When you see scars, let me remind you of survival. When you see shame, let me show you love. The human's eyes stung. He looked away quickly, but the alien stepped closer and touched his shoulder gently. You do not have to fight alone anymore, he said. The human's throat tightened. He whispered, I believe you. That night, for the first time, the human slept without fear. The colony watched them differently now. Some with disapproval, others with quiet curiosity. A few, even with respect. But the alien never flinched. He stood openly beside the human wherever they went, never hiding, never hesitating. The human learned to walk a little straighter, to lift his head a little higher. He was not cured of his shame. Scars like his did not vanish overnight, but he was learning, piece by piece, to see himself through the alien's eyes. One morning, as they shared breakfast, the human asked, quietly, why me? Of all the people here, why did you choose me? The alien set down his cup, meeting his gaze with calm certainty. Because you think you are ordinary. Because you think you are unworthy. But I see the truth. You are extraordinary. And I will keep choosing you every day. The human's heart swelled with emotions too heavy to name. For the first time, he didn't question the answer. He simply accepted it. Seasons passed. Their bond grew stronger. Where once there had been silence and fear, now there was laughter and warmth. They built routines together, small but meaningful, sharing meals, walking the fields at dusk, sitting side by side under the stars, speaking of their worlds, their pasts, their dreams. Sometimes the human still struggled. Old wounds did not fade easily. But each time doubt rose, the alien was there, steady and unwavering. His presence became the anchor that kept the human from drowning in his own mind. And slowly, the human began to change. He noticed it first when he looked in the mirror. One morning, the same scars, the same body stared back, but for the first time, he did not only see flaws, he remembered the alien's words. Strength, survival, beauty, and for just a moment, he believed them. He touched the glass, whispering to himself, maybe I am enough. The colony began to change too. Whispers lost their power when laughter failed to wound. Cruel words fell quiet when they were met with unshaken truth. Over time, some even began to see what the alien had seen first. That humans, fragile as they seemed, carried a strength that could not be measured in size or shape. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in fire, the human and the alien walked together through the square. No one laughed. No one whispered. People simply watched as they passed. The human felt the weight of eyes, but this time he didn't bow his head. He walked tall, his hand brushing against the alien's. When the alien quietly took his hand in return, the human did not flinch. He held on tightly. For the first time in his life, he was not ashamed of being seen. Later that night, sitting beneath the stars, the human whispered, "You've changed everything." The alien tilted his head slightly. "No, you changed when you chose to believe." The human smiled faintly. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Perhaps," the alien said softly, "but you will carry it forward without me, too, because the strength was always yours. I only reminded you." The human leaned against him, resting his head on the alien's shoulder. His voice was quiet, steady. "I don't feel alone anymore, and you never will," the alien promised. From that day forward, their lives were never the same. What began as shame, as fear, as an accident that should have broken them, became the moment that saved them. The human who once hid behind walls learned to walk without them. The alien who once watched in silence learned to speak with truth. Together, they proved that love could grow from the most unlikely of places. And though the colony still whispered from time to time, The human no longer heard poison in their words. Because he knew, deep inside, he was seen, he was loved, and he was enough. The accident had become a beginning, and that beginning had changed everything.